This is On Base, your one-stop shop for solving your most pressing B2B go-to-market challenges. Each week, hosts Chris Moody and Paul Gibson talk to sales and marketing leaders to get you in-depth insights and creative strategies to set your revenue teams up for success.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm your host, Chris Moody. I'm very excited to talk to Jodie Woodworth today on Agile evolution, adapting marketing strategies for continuous improvement. Jodie is the head of marketing for Envysion, a Motorola Solutions company focused on managed video technology to reduce loss, improve safety and security, and create operational excellence, protecting restaurant and retail establishments. She's very passionate about B2B marketing and leading an agile marketing team by empowering others to flourish in their role, which is very important to every single listener today. So Jodie, thanks for joining. Let's jump right in. I mean, the first question, you and I talked about this a bit when we spoke before, but how did you initially overcome some of the resistance from your team when starting to implement agile marketing? And what's some of the advice you'd give to others that are in that similar situation?
Yeah, Chris. So I'm going to back that up for 1 second and tell you kind of how I got here, because that's going to give you a great lead in to allow me to answer that question with a little bit more detail. So I graduated college with a marketing degree. I was so lucky to be able to join Chick-fil-A in marketing. I switched out of that and went into advertising sales. So now I'm in sales. So I have this sales background. Loved it because I was able to work with customers, building their brand, also giving them some consultative marketing knowledge. I found, about 10, 15 years ago, the world was changing into this digital marketing world. So I hopped back into a digital agency, learned a ton of stuff from people half my age. It was great, learned everything about digital marketing, and then was lucky enough to come in and jump into Envysion and lead a team. So that brings me to where I am with this marketing agile. So I realized as we were going through, we started off, when I joined the team, we were on Excel, on an Excel spreadsheet. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Because I was with a marketing agency, I knew a lot about the systems to work with like a Kanban board. So I said, all right, guys, we're going to change. We're going to move over to a Kanban board. The lucky part is that when I started this team a little over 3 years ago, there were 3 of us, 2 people on my team and then myself. So it was an easy switch to get over to Kanban. So it was this gentle step into Agile. I didn't really know it at the time that that's where we were heading, but so we started getting things organized there and tracking everything there. We had our quarterly goals, we had our OKRs, we had everything in there. What I found is we were trying to be perfect in everything, and we were taking like 3 months, 6 months or longer to finish a project. And it was becoming insane. We were going slow. We were rushing through projects in the end just to try to get them live. Everyone was spinning in their, seats going, we can't keep up. I knew we couldn't keep up. Sales was, pounding us, asking for things. Product was throwing us new, features and new product lines that we were coming out with. And it was just taking a toll on me and the team. So about 10 months ago, I started researching Agile marketing framework. I started reading a lot. I was listening to podcasts. I was talking to people, and I realized, okay, let's just do this. But we needed to enter the process slowly. So I didn't want to shock the team into this new process and throwing them into this ice cold bath of cold water. So I started slowly just talking about it in our meetings. Hey guys, we're going to look at doing an agile framework. And they just kind of nod their heads and move on and start talking about it more. Some people knew what it was. My team at this point now, we're at about 7 people. So we've grown over the last 3 years. So we started talking about it. Then it just happened to be toward the end of the year last year, we started getting organized. So we looked at all of our tasks on our Kanban board. Anything that we felt like we could do within 2 weeks, we moved them over to a line item that was 2 weeks. If we felt the projects were longer than 2 weeks, we didn't delete them. We just put them into like a backlog because we didn't want to like completely rip the Band-Aid off. So we put these projects into a backlog. We reviewed everything and made sure that there was an actual purpose to these tasks and projects, because we found that wasn't always the case as we get into this process. Is it revenue generating? Is it lead generating? Is it usable for our external facing teams? Are we talking about organic brand value? And really, most importantly, was this project in our swim lane? Because as we found that a lot of things not a lot, but some of the things we were working on really were not in the marketing department. So as we move forward into this agile process, we started, okay, we were organized. Now we need to start changing our meetings and our cadence of our meetings. So we initially, before we stepped into this, we had 1 hour weekly meeting every Monday. And then I would meet with the team 1 hour each, and we would talk about what their projects are. We'd go over things. They'd ask questions. We'd have, this big, long conversation. So we changed that we kept our 1 hour meeting, and we started having 15-minute daily stand-ups every morning. So we reviewed what was finished yesterday, what was currently being worked on today, and then were there any roadblocks? So we had this discussion every morning. I reduced our individual meetings, our one-on-ones, to about 30 minutes because now I was learning every day what everyone was doing. We didn't need all that extra time. And the team would still have some of their one-on-ones. This came to a little freak out point. We got to a point of, it was really tough for me because I started hearing rumble, this is micromanaging. And I was like, no, this isn't micromanaging. This is not intended for micromanaging. So I stopped and I thought, and I'm like, I'm not going to stop this process. I just need to pivot. I need to change. So we had conversations. I'm very open with my team. I had individual conversations. We had group conversations. It really wasn't that intention of micromanaging. So we needed to change our cadence of our meetings. So we did a lot of iterating and pivoting and moving and discussing. So we got to a point where we went to 2 meetings a week, 1 hour meeting on Monday, and then 2 other meetings a week. And we became a little bit more agile in this whole process. We did finally get to a point where we were looking at our Kanban board and we were like deleting projects. So this became like this positive. The team started seeing things. So there's a lot of ebbs and flows in this whole process. We were having great conversations of where we were focusing. We had, those projects that were taking like 6 months, we were squeezing them down into these 2 weeks. So we were hitting these 2-week sprints. Once we reached like our second sprint time, we realized that we started thinking outside of the box. We realized that we were giving each other a lot of feedback, and we're talking about value, what the value our customers were seeing. We were taking action in a more efficient way. We had additional communication, and everyone was like on the same page at this point. We weren't working on all these individual projects going into all these like various different directions. And there was already progress of us not getting behind. We started to see this light at the end of the tunnel, but then we had another struggle because it started coming up with the time we were having meetings. So we were having these meetings at 8 a.m. in the morning, and it was like, wait a second, we shrunk the meetings. We're only meeting like, our 15 to 30 minutes, 2 days a week. What's the big deal at this time? Well, we have team members from like East Coast to West Coast. So I'm in Mountain Time. West Coast at 8 o'clock is 7 a.m. on the West Coast and 10 o'clock on the East Coast. So this was another hurdle we had to discuss. It's amazing how many hurdles you have to think about in all of this process, like little things that come up like that, like timing, because, I started doing some research and I realized that there was some research that I found that was like 27% of the people, if they have interruption in a task, they just take a ton more time to complete the task. So people that were getting interrupted at like 10 a.m., they're like, you're interrupting my day. Like, I have to start all over again. I'm already in this. This is how I do my work. So we made some changes. We thought about what time was best for our team, everyone on our team. We had that conversation and we came to a conclusion on what worked best for everybody. So as we worked through all this, it really took a lot of courage for the team to get to this agile process. It was a big change. It was super scary just in our team in itself. And I was extremely fearful that this was going to fail, but I had to keep pushing on. And I knew with all of this open conversation and the feedback that, I said, just tell me anything, good, bad, ugly, different, whatever, compliments, whatever, just give me all the feedback so we can make this right. But in the end, we really came up with a ton of ideas and how to prepare and promote and measure everything that we were doing.
I love that. I love the pivots you talked about too, and the Goldilocks, almost like too little, too much, just right, right? Adjusting with your team. And you were hitting on metrics there too. I'm really curious. We know we're all challenged to do more with less. Not all of us have gigantic teams. For me, like we have team members in India, we have West Coast, we have Central Time. It's always a challenge just to find time to work together. But what are some of the metrics you've found most successful for tracking the performance of marketing and how well campaigns are going and how to help quickly improve your strategy, knowing this is what success looks like?
Yeah. So our product team is amazing. They're challenged to, bring out new products and new features, reposition things, or we look at repositioning things. We are super lucky to have a customer advisory board, an application innovation council, who are people that are in our app. So we listen to a lot of what they're saying. And so we're always changing and looking at the way we're messaging our products for our sales team and for our customer success team. So yes, we still do track on a spreadsheet. We still have that lovely spreadsheet where we keep things tracked. And all of our projects and our conversations and our feedbacks are noted in Trello. We look at the spreadsheet and we review each campaign every 2 weeks. So the way we process each campaign is we have a calendar and we create an annual calendar knowing the back half of the year is probably going to pivot based on what product is doing and changes. And if something goes from alpha stage and meets beta stage or even just stops at alpha stage. So we have to think about everything. So we have regular meetings with product and we plan out what these features or products are. And so we prep in a 2-week time frame, and then we launch in a 2-week time frame. And our prep and launch are always going to be overlapped. So every 2 weeks we're launching something new. And during that launch phase, we're prepping something new. So at the end of every 2 weeks, we review it. We look at both the engagement on both paid and social. So whatever, if it's Google, if it's LinkedIn ads, if it's just organic LinkedIn posts, we look at all of the engagement. We look at anything that's coming over to our site. We look at that page that they're being driven to. Is it the right page? How much time are they spending on that page? Are they going deeper into our site from that page? Are we A/B testing the page that they're going to? We're A/B testing the images. We're A/B testing the copy that we're putting out. What is working, what is not. And so we're looking at this throughout this 2 week that these campaigns are going. We determined, in the beginning, we're determining what our objective and key results are here. We're like, okay, what do we want to happen from this? Is that landing page the right landing page? So we even make sure that when we compare things, so we've been doing this since the beginning of the year. We're in April. We look at every 2 weeks, okay, what has gone well, what has not gone well? And then right now we're in this stage where nothing's really being pushed out and we are not ready for our next sprint. So we're able to take everything that we've done since the beginning of the year and say, okay, these did great. Let's re-push them out. Let's see if we can tweak the message a little bit. Let's talk to sales. How are they doing with this product or the feature benefits that they're discussing with their customers? What does that conversation look like at the trade shows? So we really have just this overall communication. I speak to the leadership team. It's a whole full company conversation. And as we look at how we measure.
I love that. And you hit on talking to sales and communication. Just to do the double click there, how has increased communication and collaboration with sales helped to drive better results?
So we are super close to our sales team. It's funny, I see a lot of things on LinkedIn on how to get better with your sales team. Our marketing and sales team are super tight. Our marketing and our product team are super tight. When I came in, that was one thing that was just really important to me, to make sure that the different departments that marketing works with have a really good relationship. So we have a great relationship with our sales team, great relationship, like I said, with our product team and our customer success team. We even talk with our technical support team. So we're really spread out over the organization. What our team has done is, and we've learned throughout, the years, that we have an internal chat. It's a marketing chat. Anyone can join, but we do highly recommend sales, product, customer success are on that chat, because this is how we're sending out some of our communication. Like, what have we produced in new blog posts, one sheets, little hurrahs that happen. If something happens, we want to shout out somebody on any team. So it's kind of a fun chat. And if anyone else wants to be on it, they're welcome to be on it. About half of our company is on it. We also learned that, chat can be fun and exciting, but then you lose things. You lose the information because we'll put it out on our chat, but then people forget that it's there. So we have what we call our brand site. So it's an internal site where we keep all of our assets. So sales or whomever, if they need anything, they can go there and access external documentation. We also have a site that our creative designer made for our portfolio. So any imagery that sales may need or even product may need, they can go there to grab any of that imagery. We have a monthly email. Every month we put together in our Trello board all of the things that we accomplish, and then we put it out on an internal monthly email of everything that we have, whether it's an article that was in a brand magazine or one sheets, videos that we create, everything that is there. And so the team can always go back to these monthly emails and grab whatever they need if they can't find it somewhere. And then we have a weekly meeting with our sales team, and we ask them a ton of questions. We go to a lot of brand shows just based on the way our business is. We work with restaurants, so we go to their specific brand shows. And when they come back, we have a deep dive. What were they talking about? What did you learn? What were they there for? How are they reacting to the products that you presented at the show? We also have a ton of planning before the show, like what do you need when you go to the show, so we know what to talk about. So we just have a ton of communication with all of our teams, because what the marketing team does is, to me, is a central point of a company, and everyone needs to know how we're moving forward so we know how to communicate both with our current customers, our prospects, just internal stakeholders. So
love that. Love that. And one more question before we get into a couple quick hitters to close us out in our time today. Most of us are in industries that move really quickly. They change frequently. We're always challenged to go faster. So we have that sense of urgency. How do you balance getting new ideas out quickly and some of the adjustments you've made with making sure that we're always hitting the quality mark?
I empower my team to make their own decisions and to really, they work together. I don't have to be in the middle of everything. So I challenge them and I ask them questions. They'll push out a 2-week sprint, and, I'll say, what are you doing and why? Why are you doing it? What is the goal that you're trying to obtain from this? And they talk with each other. They, again, talk internally. I think when we're doing these so quickly, they know they have to have so many different assets to get out. and they look at things. And we know some things don't happen within 2 weeks, but we can typically try if there's not a whole lot of impressions. Like, I'm just like, pull it. If they fail, they're not afraid to fail because I'm not afraid to let them fail. And I'm like, fail fast and move forward. You know what? It didn't work. That's fine. If you're stuck that you don't know why it didn't work, figure out why it didn't work and try something else, but do it quickly. Don't think, think about it, but don't think about it. Let's move. Let's just move fast because the industry that we're in changes so fast. There's so many external source things that are going on in this world. And because we work with restaurants, restaurants are changing the way that, it's the quick serve restaurants. These places are changing. People are going in and doing different things. The use of money is being used differently. Sometimes you're not going up to a counter, you're ordering at a kiosk. So we have to be flexible in what we're doing as well. So it just becomes the nature of the game. Let's keep moving. If it works, great, let's optimize and let's get better at that. If it's not, move forward.
Great advice there. And then we have 2 rapid fire questions. The last is the most important too. But first, we call this one good reads. It can also be listens, but any books, blogs, podcasts, or newsletters that you recommend to our listeners?
Yes. So I love the book Story Brand by Donald Miller. I do buy that for every new team member that comes on. We've read it together. We've gone through the process. It's a great book. I just think he does a great job on storytelling, the hero and the villain. And, he has a lot of great examples in the book. I personally really enjoyed Atomic Habits by James Clear. I think it really helped in my role as a leader and even through this agile process, really understanding like the differences between goals and habits. I just thought it was a great read. I listen to a ton of podcasts. I will give a shout out to Dave Gearhart. I love his podcast. I love listening to him. I'm a part of his Exit 5. I just think there's a lot of great conversations for marketers in that space. So yeah, those are probably my top 3.
Awesome. Love those. And then the most important question, how can people get in touch with you after the podcast?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. So you can look me up on LinkedIn, Jodie Woodworth. That's probably the best and easiest way to get me. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. It's my social space.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Jodie. Great stuff. Great recommendations. Really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks for joining us for On Base. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to share, rate, review, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. This show is brought to you by Demandbase, the only account-based experience platform built for sales and marketing alignment.